You left New Japan recently, which
Yep.
shocked a lot of people. Do you want to explain to us why exactly you made that choice?
Yeah, there was, unfortunately, I was in a situation where I almost couldn't win. New Japan, towards the end, they were only giving me 4 tours a year. And what they had told me or expressed to me was that there was no way that they could increase the workload of KES, Lance Archer, and myself as a tag team. And there has been a lot of things that happened before this that I'll try to cover as much as I can here. But I had my back against the wall, and it was a business decision that I had to make for my future. And I felt that the tag team with Lance Archer and myself had expired, and we did all that we could in Japan and in the USA, because we're just not very well known over here or Canada as a tag team. And there was issues with the Booker, Gato, and myself, and I'm happy to go over all that right now. I guess this will all date back to when Lance Archer had hurt his back on a New Japan tour. I believe it was March of 2017. And believe me, when Archer and myself returned back to New Japan after our 2-year stint in Noah, I myself was very, very fired up, pumped up, ready to come back, take New Japan by storm. I had done a really crazy diet during that time. Like, I'll tell you, I didn't even have a Diet Coke for about a month. Absolutely no crap, nothing. I was lean, cut down to about 248. Really, really happy to be back in New Japan. And unfortunately, as luck has it, Lance Archer got injured. Finally, I guess it was the straw that broke the camel's back at Korakuen Hall. He had to get emergency back surgery over in New Japan. I was told that I was on the remainder of that tour, and I was told by the new person in the office named Saito that I was going to be on the next tour, and that was about a little over 4 weeks. And he gave me a schedule. I wasn't on the Super Juniors tour. I think I was on something in June. So when I went home, I was actually, they had owed me merchandise money from that tour. And they said, okay, you're coming back next month. I said, yeah, I'll be back here, okay. So I went home, and I was waiting for my flight, and nobody gave me any flight information. I sent Kimiko, the office lady, an email and said, where's my flight? And she goes, well, did you talk to Gato-san or Hattori? You're not on the tour. And I said, well, that's news to me, because I was told that I am. And not only that, I was told I was on the tour, the full tour, which was over a month long. So I tried to send Gato a Facebook message, because that's how him and Lance Hoyt communicate. And Lance sends him ideas. So I got on Facebook. I had sent Gato a message. He never even read it or responded. I spoke to Hattori, who luckily had the balls enough to call me back, and he said, we're sorry. He put it on this office person named Saito that it was his fault that he told me that I was on the tour, and I wasn't. I just would have appreciated them to be honest with me, and when I was going home, if they said, hey, listen, Lance, he's going to be out for however long. We don't have anything for you because you guys are a tag team. We're sorry, please get booked by yourself. I would have said, okay, I would have gotten bookings like that. But when there's that lack of communication, what am I to do? So I went home. I went down to, was the WrestleCon down in, I think it was Miami, or was it 2017?
It was Orlando, sorry.
Orlando, yeah.
Orlando,
yeah. So I got booked randomly on a New Japan tour. I think it was in July for like 10 days. And nobody emailed me except for Kimiko just to send me my flight information. And I was kind of mad at the office because there was absolutely no communication as far as when are we coming back? Are we coming back when Lance gets better? Is he actually going to come back? Is he going to be healthy enough? So I was on a tour came back on a tour in July, and I called Gato and Mr. Sugabayashi. I called them downstairs at Korakuen Hall, and I asked them what the issue was, and I explained to them my frustrations about what happened and the lack of communication. And I said, Gato-san, I sent you an email, I sent you a Facebook message, I'm sorry, this is how you communicate with Lance. And he lied to me, he's a liar. He said,
Facebook? I don't know. What's Facebook?
He kind of talks like Cartman from South Park, and he gave me and then talking in Japanese to Sugabayashi, and they were pretending they didn't know how to speak English for about 30 seconds. And I said to Gato, I said, well, what's this? And I showed him the message, and he pretended he didn't know. So I said, well, how do you communicate with Lance then? I looked him in the eye, and he goes, oh, I don't know. I said, well, you talked to him on Facebook, right?
Facebook, I don't know.
I said, well, Gato-san, I said, do you want me back here in New Japan or not? What's actually the story here? Okay, and he said, well, when Lance gets better in September, you guys will come back. I want you guys to feud with War Machine and GOD. And I said, okay. And I said, well, what's the story with this? And all with Lance Archer's back injury, and you know, you guys, there's been a lack of communication. I just would have appreciated the honesty, and if they would have communicated better. And he apologized, and he said, we're sorry, we didn't know. So I said, okay, we shook hands, we went off on that. But ever since that day, I think Gato was scared of me, and he didn't want to communicate with me because Japanese they don't like confrontations, and they're very passive aggressive. And when I did that to him and Sugabayashi, I think that they got scared. And I was mad because, hey, who can blame me? You want to, let's talk face to face, man to man. So after that, Gato, I don't think really liked it or appreciated it, and too bad, I don't really care. But anyway, going forward after all this, there was a few issues. One was that there's been a ton of talent, Gaijin talent, that's been coming into New Japan, and there's been almost an overabundance of talent that's on the shows, where you start getting into the situation where there's only 10 10-man tags, 8-man tags, 6-man tags. The only singles matches that are happening on tour, if there are any, are with the young boys to get them experience. And you know, my workload started going down. I mean, last year I was only booked on 4 tours, and I had been contacted by Impact Wrestling to come and start doing TVs out here in wherever they're doing it in Ontario, Windsor, yeah. And I had asked them, and I asked them very nicely. I said, hey, I've been contacted because I'm Canadian. They want a new Canadian star. They want some fresh talent. They want something new. And it was all of a sudden like their eyes got all wide, and it was like, oh, you don't want to leave us to go to them. I said, no, but if you guys are only booking me on 4 tours a year, I have to start doing things to better myself and better my career and get me back on TV, because the Access TV stuff that they've been showing of myself has been garbage. It's been terrible. They show these lousy 8-man tags where I come in and do a lame power clothesline in the corner, and then they do the deal where the babyface comes in for the comeback and blasts us off the apron, and we're selling like for 10 minutes. You know, it's all the same crap, and it just wasn't doing me any good. And I'd asked Gato and Jotto, who I actually like Jotto a lot. He was very nice to me, and I think he probably has a better business mind for wrestling than Gato. But that being said, there was like, oh, well, fucking Jeff Jarrett, and he fucked Okada over, and fucking TNA, and blah, blah. This is just quotes. I don't want to swear too much on here. But I was going like, guys, Jeff Jarrett's gone. He's not in Impact Wrestling. I just got contacted. I'm asking you. You said no, so that's fine. That's that. So I went home, and Lance Archer had emailed the new president, Harold Meiji. And then he said to Lance, he goes, well, we just figured that Davey Boy's going to Impact and you guys were done. Like they weren't going to book us on any more tours. And Lance asked me about this because he goes, well, what's the deal? And I said, well, I approached them because they didn't ask about Lance and I coming in as a team. They wanted me to come in as a babyface. So I asked, and they said no. And Gato had told this Harold Meiji that I was quitting, and I was going to TNA, and we were done. But there was miscommunication, and he put words into my mouth that wasn't true. And I emailed Harold Meiji, and I asked him, I said, hey, listen, this is the story I got asked. They said, no, that's fine. But I never was threatening to quit. That's all just stuff that's lost in translation and putting words in my mouth. And one of the last things that really pissed me off about Gato was we were on a show. It was just a town show for the World Tag League. And we were wrestling GOD, and the deal was, at the very end of the match, I go to hit the ropes, and Jotto hits me in the back with the cane, the Singapore cane. So I said, fine. And Tama hits me, I go down, he does something, he hits the gun stun. So when I hit the ropes, it was just mistimed, one of those things. And Giotto hit me as hard as he could when I hit the ropes with the cane on my hand. And I swear I thought I broke my hand, because I don't know if anyone can see here. I broke my hand before in New Japan, actually, on a tour. And I was on this hand, and it swelled up like that. And I bumped away, and I screamed like, wow. And he did the finish. I rolled out of the outside. I thought I broke my hand, like, you know. So I come to the back, and right away Giotto is saying sorry. He said, "Oh, Davey, I'm so sorry." And I went and saw trainer Mizawa, who actually, when I first broke this hand, he was the one that tested it, and he said, "No, fracture, no good." And they were going, "Well, okay, is it really fractured?" And I went to the hospital. They did x-rays, and it was broken. So he looked at it, and he did a test. And he said, "No, it'll be okay." But it swelled up like that, and it was red. And man, if you get hit, and it's not even a gimmick Singapore cane, right on your hand like that, it hurts. And then Gato comes up to me, and he's complaining that when I got hit in the back with the cane, I didn't sell long enough. And I'm here with this big giant bag of ice on my hand, and I couldn't grip or do anything for about 5 days. I had to keep ice on it. It hurt like hell. It was swelling during the middle of the night, and he was just complaining about that. He didn't even ask me how my hand was. You know, there's a big lack of respect with that, which I didn't appreciate. You know, and right at the very end, you know, they started mistreating me and having me do jobs to guys like Yano. And I don't mind. I understand that this is a business. I don't mind going out there and pouring my heart out, giving the fans a great match, and losing, that's fine. But when you're just out there to put me in matches with guys like Yano and we don't have good chemistry at all, then it's time to leave. And, you know, I felt that, I don't know if you ever remember Devin, but do you remember when Van Vader was in WWF at the very end of his tenure there?
Of course.
You know, and they were just jobbing him out. And the last time I'd seen him on TV, he was losing to Edge on Sunday Night Heat. And it wasn't like Vader was doing a bad job there. It wasn't like he was not performing. It was just that his, I guess, time in the company had expired, or they didn't have anything more from storyline-wise. Why they didn't want to push me or have me do more stuff as a singles competitor there, I don't know. It was out of my control. And the last thing that happened on the last tour I was on was I had been contacted by Real Japan Pro Wrestling, who's Satoru Sayama, the original Tiger Mask, and Hisashi Shima, who was the original president of New Japan Pro Wrestling back in the 80s, and they've started a company, and they were doing a Dynamite Kid tribute show. So nobody ever told me about it. I just knew that they were doing it. I trained at Sayama's gym. They had contacted New Japan about borrowing me for a show, and I was told that New Japan, there was a bunch of back and forth discussion about it. And, you know, like that story, or the saying goes, when you're dealing with business or you're buying a new car, there's strings attached. It was almost like I went to do this show, but it was like there was heat attached. And it wasn't my fault, but like all of a sudden it was like, for this tour, they were trying to make me look as bad as possible, having me lose going into this show. And you know why that was, I don't know, but apparently Mr. Hattori has got heat with Shima, or they don't like each other from Inoki and 35 years ago. I don't know what the deal is, but there was definitely a different vibe on that tour. And I was told that New Japan had charged Real Japan some ridiculous amount of money, and nobody will tell me because Japanese are secretive. And they gave me a cut of it, and it was fine, but I don't know what they charged them, but I think that they charged them a lot and kept it. That was what I was told. And my last tour there was also questions about me doing the Ring of Honor show for WrestleMania weekend.
At Madison Square.
Yeah, and there was back and forth, like, we don't know, and it's like, well...
Enzo got on it somehow, though.
Yeah, and, well, good for him, I guess, but, you know, the thing was that, like, I finally told them, because I said, I'm trying to plan out that Mania weekend, like, with New York traffic and, you know, all these shows. I tell you, I did Bloodsport that weekend, 2 months worth of TV for MLW, Pancakes with Pile Driver, some other afternoon show Ted booked me on. So I didn't really even want to be on it. And they didn't give me a definite answer. And honestly, I finally told them, because Jim Neidhart was being inducted in the Hall of Fame, I was trying to figure out. I told them that I didn't want to do it, and I said, keep me off it, but you guys got to separate Lance and I as far as being this package. Like, I don't want to say I don't want to be on it, and that means Lance isn't going to be on it. I said, please keep Archerson on it. I just don't want to be on it because I'm not going to be in a prominent role. I'm not saying this because I've got a big head. I would rather be there live in attendance for my uncle Jim Neidhart, who I was very close to. I actually spoke at his funeral, one of the few people. I would rather be there than being put in some lousy match that nobody's going to even remember on a Ring of Honor show. I've had my moments in Madison Square Garden, opening up the show with Tyson Kidd. We had an awesome 15-minute match there once before. Bret Hart Appreciation Night, me, Tyson Kidd, and Bret versus the Nexus. One of the few times I got to team with Bret. I said, keep me off it. And I got heat over that too, like, because I had a big head. And I had told Gato, because I usually would be Archer and I talking to Gato as a team about stuff. I just told him I wasn't happy. And I said, just, if you're only going to offer me 4 tours a year, I have to look elsewhere for more work. And I said I wasn't happy about the way I was being booked this year. You know, I wasn't even on the main New Japan, the Tokyo Dome show. We were on the undercard.
Were you offered on this heavyweight tournament in Dallas that apparently didn't draw as well as they expected?
No, that was the last thing that I had spoken to anyone was I had messaged Rocky, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't on that show because I knew I wasn't coming back. Because here's the thing, with business, I'm very, very smart. I know how these companies think. I had MLW TV tapings that day, and I didn't really necessarily want to say that I had MLW. I just was asking because my thinking is if they know that they're getting rid of me, if they know I'm signed with MLW, because in my contract I said New Japan gets first bids. If they put me on the Dallas show and have me job out just to screw me on a month's worth of TV, they would do that. But they didn't, so that's good. But I was thinking, maybe overthinking, but Vince, you know, they would do stuff like that just to, hey, we're going to use this guy one more time. Oh, well, it gets him out of doing MLW. He's being pushed. We'll just make him look bad. But they didn't, so that's it. And then, you know, Devin, I had approached John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace, on some advice. Johnny and I are good friends, and I have a lot of respect for him. And if I wouldn't approach somebody about advice if I didn't respect them and their business. And I knew he was a big star in Japan.
And behind the scenes, a Finnish guy too, right?
Yeah, very much so. So I had asked him his thoughts, and I told him that I had basically quit New Japan, and I said I wanted to make an announcement before that they had announced that that they had fired me or pushed me out. And I had explained to him the whole situation with everything. And what Johnny told me was, he said, no, don't announce that you quit. He goes, what you do is, if you have offers, if you have Jim Ross that wants you in AEW, if you want, you know, Don Callis wants me in Impact Wrestling. I'm doing Major League Wrestling also. You know, who knows if World of Sport's coming back. But he said, just tell them that you have these other offers, and if they come back to you wanting you back, just tell them, say, you know, I want more money, I want more tours. That's how, you know, Johnny's voice is. And he told me that he did the same thing in 1996. And WWE had approached him about coming to, WWF about coming there at the time. And he told me a mistake that I made, and that's fine. He told me you'd never ask the Japanese for anything. He said you either let other people know about other things, let them ask you or approach you, and you tell them, yeah, well, I got offered this. He goes, everything, they'll either, if they can do ways where things get lost in translation. There's a lot of, you know, shit disturbing backstage, a lot of bookers and bullshit. And he said he did the same thing. He said you just let people know through the grapevine that that you're needed or you're wanted under contract. And he said he never asked Baba about going to WWF in '96. He just said he let it through the grapevine. It was all over the Wrestling Observer and everything. And then when he went on tour, he got off the bus and Baba had his head down. And then Johnny said, oh, Baba, you know, Simasen and whatever. And then he said, Johnny, I want you to stay All Japan. And he said, oh, yeah, I want to stay. And I guess Baba had asked Johnny about getting offers from WWF. And Johnny said, yeah, it's true, Baba. He said, I want to stay, but I need more money. I need this, and this, and this. And he said he got it. And I'll tell you one thing, Johnny is a smart guy. I asked him what he was making per week in All Japan in his prime at the very end, and there's nobody in Japan now that's making what he's making a week. Nobody.
And it's 20 years later.
Yeah.
Or more than 20 years later.
Yeah. I mean, Johnny's a businessman through and through. Whatever happened, you know, if people say bad things about him, here's the thing, he was just doing a job. You know, he was there to hire people and fire people and do some of the dirty work. But we had a long talk, and Johnny told me, he gave me a perspective about this. And he told me, he said, I think that it's very good if you do go to AEW. He's not in position to hire or fire people anymore. But he said the thing that if you do go to AEW that they're missing big guys. They're missing guys like myself, like a Johnny size or your size, you know. People, as much as there's great talent with smaller people, you do need big guys, and you need big guys that know how to work. The other day on MLW, I just had a really, really awesome TV match with that Alex Hammerstone. It was just basic, it was solid, it was good. But that's what people really want to see, you know. They want to see guys like Hulk Hogan. They want to see big guys, and that's what draws the most money. That's what he told me about how Baba was always successful. There was always the Steve Williams, Stan Hansen, Terry Gordy,
Vader.
Dan Spivey, Vader, and like I said, when I was talking to you about Vader before, when WWF was, you know, dogging him out or whatever, you know what he did? He went over to All Japan, restarted his career. He killed it over there. Those matches with Misawa and Kobashi were amazing. He totally reinvented himself. I saw him throwing a few submission holds out there. He worked perfect. I mean, it was great, and it was a good thing that he left WWF. But why New Japan was doing that to me, other than Gato had a personal issue with me about things, I couldn't win. There's just, you know, that was the way it was, you know, and that's unfortunate, but that's the way that they were stone-headed about it. And personally, Devin, it's my honest opinion, and you'll probably agree with me on this, and fans, I've heard nothing but fans tell me that they prefer me and they'd like me as a singles player. And, you know, me with all the costumes that I've got with the Bulldog and this and that, and it's been great doing stuff with MLW, and I don't mean to keep...
And your dad was a singles star as well.
Exactly, you know, and I don't mean to keep dragging this on, but I believe I got heat from New Japan also for signing with MLW too, because they have this relationship with Ring of Honor. The problem was Ring of Honor was never booking me, you know. The only time that they would book me and Lance was if New Japan begged them, and I don't want to be an unwanted talent or one of those guys that's begging to date a girl, or you understand what I mean? And I never even, because, you know, and I think I had told them that I'd sign with MLW, but I said this is in the contract, and they got all confused asking what is MLW and are you quitting, and I was like, all right, no, just forget it, I'm here, I'm just, you know how it is with things getting lost in translation. But that being said, it's time for me now to train hard, be very, very focused, train harder than I ever have. I feel like I'm bigger than I ever have been right now. And I have aspirations of taking a mixed martial arts fight. Now I'm back in Tampa, Florida. I've been sparring and training with Jack Swagger. We're talking about going to the American Top Team down in Coconut Creek. And I have aspirations, and I have faith in Court Bauer with Major League Wrestling. He's put a lot of stock into me, and the nice thing about Court is that he actually listens to me and my ideas. We've been really, you know, turning the page and doing some great things in that company as well. So I'm excited for the future, and I would like to do, as long as it doesn't interfere too much with the MLW contract, I would like to do something with AEW. I like Cody, I like the Bucks, I like Kenny. All those guys are great. They are missing big talent, big guys like myself, and I think I would be a great addition to them. Jim Ross is high on me very much. He wants me to join AEW or make appearances.
Publicly too, on his podcast.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but my friend Dave Harrow, who's a promoter out in Milwaukee, told me he didn't even tell Jim Ross he knows me. And Jim Ross told him that I'm the best. He said, Harry Smith is the best wrestler in the world right now. He said, just nobody knows it, nobody's giving him a chance. And Bret Hart said the same thing about me. I just want a chance to shine out there and prove myself, and I feel that MLW's done that. But I want to thank New Japan for the time that I spent with them. Unfortunately, they didn't want to invest more in me than they did, and they didn't want to expand on anything. You have to move on.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.